Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot to talk about today, including some Feral Druid and Shadow Priest changes, information on when the second phase of Season of Discovery is going to be released, a couple important confirmations from the developers over on Twitter, and so much more. My name's Sky from the Comeback Kids. This is your Season of Discovery news. Sit down, grab a cup of coffee. We got a lot to discuss. I'm sure you've all seen that Blizzard has released an official post showing their 2024 roadmap for all things World of Warcraft. We aren't going to take too long talking about this topic as everyone has already gone through it and made a video on it, but we just simply wanted to quickly break down the Season of Discovery portion. If we zoom in on screen here, you can see that the next phase of Season of Discovery is going to be after the Ruby Sanctum raid is officially released for Wrath of the Lich King Classic. From the research we've done online, it has been confirmed that the Ruby Sanctum raid is going to be released on January 11th, which is a Thursday. Not only that, Season of Discovery launched on November 30th, which was a Thursday as well. Now, we don't have any official confirmations when the next phase is going to be, but going by that same logic, we can expect the second phase of Season of Discovery to fall on either January 18th, January 25th, or February 1st. Now, if I had to simply guess on a day, I would probably have to say that it would be January 25th, as it is exactly 2 weeks after the Ruby Sanctum raid is going to be released, and it would be exactly 8 weeks or 2 months since the release of Season of Discovery. And to me, it makes a little bit more sense that they would release each phase exactly 2 months between each other, rather than them being 2 months and 1 week between each other. And if that logic continues and we keep following that trend, we can expect the third phase to be released around March 21st or later in the spring. Of course, this is all educated guesses and not confirmations at all, just sort of reading the context clues into a situation to try and help you all prepare for the days coming ahead. Moving on now to more in-game topics. In our previous news video, we announced that they released a couple of new tailoring recipes inside of the game to help casters increase their DPS overall. It's no secret now that physical damage dealers are dominating just about everything in World of Warcraft right now, so it's really good that they're looking to help casters in any way possible. Now, as you can see on screen here, with both of the crafting recipes being live in the game, we have the Invoker's Waste, which increases your spell damage and healing by 7, and it also gives you 5+ intellect. Then you also have the Invoker's Mantle, which gives you 5 intellect and increases your spell damage and healing done by up to 7 as well. The thing is, both of these are incredibly powerful items to be obtaining at level 25. I mean, if you go ahead and compare some of the pre-raid best-in-slot items in original Classic WoW to these, you can see that they're really not too far off from each other. I mean, the Elder Wizard's Mantle has only 4 more spell damage and 15 more intellect compared to the new craftable shoulders, and the Banthok Sash only has 5 additional spell damage, 1% hit, and some handful of stats. The point I'm trying to make is, ladies and gentlemen, is that if the gear we're obtaining right now was this strong, how much more powerful are the pieces of equipment going to be heading into some of the later phases? I mean, you have the Staff of Jordan, which is known for being one of the most epic items you can obtain in Classic WoW as your Prebis if you're able to grab it. Now inside of BFD, you can acquire an item that is actually better than that by a pretty large margin at level 25. I just think it's going to be very interesting to see the types of items and direction they're going to be taking when it comes to caster DPS as we start heading into the later phases. Moving on now to some class changes, the developers posted late last night, starting off with bear tanks that have the base cost of Lacerate being reduced from 15 rage down to 10, and the base cost of Mangle going from 20 rage down to 15. Now, it's no secret that Guardian Druids are performing very poorly right now in terms of tanking inside of Season of Discovery. Their AoE damage is average, Wild Strikes is mandatory if you don't have another Feral Druid, and if you take that, you lose a lot of your damage reduction from Survival of the Fittest. You can't stack Mangle and Lacerate runes because they both take up a glove rune slot. I mean, there's so many problems with bear tanks right now, and I think it honestly comes down to the basic design of how their runes were implemented. In any case, though, hopefully this is a step in the right direction when it comes to making this class spec better, because it desperately needs the help right now. Lastly, for the minor changes, we have Shadow Ward Death for Priest, having the base damage being increased by 103%, and the bonus damage receiving from spell power has been increased by 50% as well. The problem with Shadow Ward Death, though, isn't really the ability on its own. It's just the simple fact that it shares a rune slot with Penance, and Penance is just so strong right now and easily one of the best runes in the entire game. It does great consistent damage, amazing healing on a low cooldown and a very low mana cost. I mean, some of the top parsing priests right now are using Penance as one of their main DPS spells because it's so consistent in DPS and low mana cost. So when it comes to PvE, until Shadow Priests start getting Shadow Form, I don't even see this becoming close to an option when it comes to Shadow War Death. Then, if you want to start comparing it to PvP, Shadow War Death is just so risky to use because it causes so much damage to yourself if you don't end up killing the target with the attack. So at the moment, Shadow War Death is just in a tough spot, and we're going to have to see if these changes affect the rune choice for Shadow Priest in at least PvP this phase. We also got some very important information about flex rating over on Twitter from the classic World of Warcraft Senior Director, Josh Greenfield, also known as Agrand. A user on Twitter stated that, "I've had a general question since this has been floating around my community a bit. Has the idea of flex rating similar to retail been considered at all?" Agrand simply replies saying, "Not at all. Classic isn't really compatible with flex rating, and this is one of those quality of life features that we feel sounds good on paper, but it isn't compatible with Classic. Modern WoW has these systems, and that's great, but that's where they will likely stay." He also reinstates this by saying, "The Classic feel is something we take very seriously. There's a lot of, we'll just add this modern system flying around, and there's danger there. Just because we're adding new content and class adjustments doesn't mean it's a good idea to go whole hog on modern systems." Now, me personally, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is absolutely fantastic that he's taking to Twitter to clear up a lot of these questions, because right now, there are so many things being requested on the forums that are in modern day WoW, such as flex rating, summoning stones, group finder, raid finder. I think it's a really good thing that some of these heavily modern day influence systems are staying in modern WoW, and they're really just trying to add on to Classic rather than trying to revamp it and turn it into something that it really just isn't. So very big W from the developers on this one. Also want to emphasize how important it is for you to express yourself over on the forums, because, man, I gotta tell you, this classic World of Warcraft team is on point when it comes to listening to player feedback. Once again, we have more and more people expressing their concerns about there not being a solo queue option for Battlegrounds, because if there isn't any ranking systems or pre-made options in place, queuing up in solo is usually a really bad time. Nothing feels worse than queuing up and facing off against 10 players in a Discord call, all on the same server, ready to beat the crap out of you and some other random pugs inside of a battleground. Demolisher here over on the forums even mentioned the idea of there being at least dedicated roles on queue, such as DPS healer or flag carrier, only about 2 healers inside of each group. I personally don't think this is something they're going to have time to make happen when it comes to the following phase coming next month, but it could very well happen in the next phase after that, coming sometime in the spring. Speaking of forums, we also got a really interesting post over there with a user stating that the more runes we get each phase, the more impossible this game is going to be to have any form of balance. There's no rhyme or reason to designing runes in a balanced way, and the same way item stats are balanced through item level, for example. Where's the rhyme or reason for one ability to give you everything you need to be a tank? This is going to get so much worse if Blizzard doesn't come up with some sort of budget system for runes of power. I just want to quickly say that it's important to keep your expectations when it comes to balance very lenient. We're talking about classes getting spells and abilities implemented from modern day WoW into vanilla WoW. I mean, Retribution Paladins having pretty much their full Wrath of the Lich King kit baked into level 25. Destruction Warlocks having Incinerate in Chaos Bolt. Elemental Shamans having Lava Burst. I mean, you guys have to remember that Season of Discovery is not meant to be balanced in the traditional sense that you know it as. This style of World of Warcraft, by the time we hit level 60, is going to be absolutely insane, considering that we're going to get up to 9 different rune slots. And if they keep adding 4 spells per equipment rune slot, we're talking about thousands of spells being implemented by the time we hit endgame. It is going to be impossible to balance this stuff. And also, don't forget about regular vanilla WoW, which wasn't balanced at all by any means. I mean, look at the damage parses here on the screen. It is so incredibly lopsided that it's not even close to being balanced. Just remember to try to take Season of Discovery not too serious and keep it lighthearted and fun, man. I just wanted to quickly state our news video previously just reached a whopping 1,500 likes, and we here at the Comeback Kids just want to quickly say thank you so much for supporting the algorithm so we could try to become the best Season of Discovery content creators out there for you all. Thank you guys for all the likes and comments. Starting off with our first comment from Jay Murda stating that they need to remove raid instance IDs. I can't tell you how many groups of 5 out of 7 BFDs get stuck not being able to fill slots due to raid IDs locking you out. I have to 100% agree with this statement because just last night we were clearing BFD on our alternate characters and out of nowhere, our main tank decided to not finish the raid and log off for the night because he was too tired. This left us begging in general and looking for group chat for other main tanks to try and finish off the raid, and there were at least 3 other instances after that where someone would join the raid and not be able to complete it because they didn't know what the ID system was and how it worked in Classic. I really wish they would make it how it is in Retail WoW, where it is a per boss ID instance rather than it being an entire raid ID. I don't really see them implementing something like this phase, though. I mean, I would really hope for it to come in the future, but we're going to have to see with something like that. Next up, we have an amazing idea from Tyrone Ellie stating that, I believe a very important thing they need to add is damage done and healing done on the Battleground tab rather than just kills. I believe this really puts off many players from wanting to do BGs. I gotta tell you, man, I always hated the vanilla World of Warcraft Battleground score tab because it gives you almost little to no information on who's really performing well inside of the instance. I absolutely love the future iterations of WoW that could look up my score after the PvP match and really find out where I ranked in terms of damage, killing blows, and all those other stats. This is a ginormous quality of life improvement that I feel wouldn't be that hard to implement. So personally, this would be a huge one for me when it comes to PvP. We also have another PvP comment from the Aka man stating that, I just want an arena out in the open world for us to go to and have duels for as long as we want. Every duel should reset our cooldowns in that arena, and abilities should all be on cooldown when you leave that arena so that players don't abuse it. I used to love, personally, ladies and gentlemen, going on World of Warcraft private servers and just dueling a bunch simply because you had this feature. It allows you to duel and use all of your character cooldowns, and then when the duel is over, your health and mana would shoot back up to 100%, and all of your cooldowns would be reset instantly so you could just immediately start another duel. This is an awesome change for PvP and practicing against specific class specs, and I think it'd be really great for setting up some duel tournaments as well. We also have Anthony Benyet stating that, I would love to see an actual tournament in the Gurabashi Arena where 16 players would sign up and it's a 1v1 bracket play until you win it all and get a trinket that way. So almost like a separate PvP mode to queue into where it's just straight up 1v1s until eventually there's a champion, and then that said champion earns a great reward. This honestly reminds me of the Coliseum PvP arena back in Warlords of Draenor. I don't know if any of you guys remember that. They had it back in the day where this mode was just absolutely awesome, man. You would literally rise up in there into the arena from below and join a complete free-for-all with a bunch of other players, and it's as simple as the last man standing wins. I think adding something like this in Classic would be super, super cool to see. Honestly, I would just want them to go nuts with Season of Discovery and add everything they possibly can, because this is pretty much like an open world testing ground for future seasons and other iterations of WoW. I think they should go crazy with adding new features never before seen. And lastly, for our final community comment today, we have Tuzugami stating, first patch without a hunter nerf, praise the Lord. Well, I guess you're right, there isn't a hunter nerf today, but that doesn't mean you're 100% safe tomorrow. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, leave a comment below for me to respond to live here on these news videos to have a little bit of a talking point and discuss about it. I would love to see your opinions on some of the topics in these videos, so if you want your voice to be heard, let me know all about it in the comment section below. I also want to give a big shout out to my buddy Herc for reaching max level inside of Season of Discovery. He's an F-35 crew chief for foreign nations with 4 kids and is serving our country proud and also kicking butt in Season of Discovery. So much love to my buddy there. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like and subscribe to get absolutely flooded with Season of Discovery content. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. It is an absolute pleasure to be making content for you all. Until the very end, my name is Sky from the Comeback Kids. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.